Joy with Perfectly Curated Life. This is a special Tuesday night little quick video. I'm not going to be here long. I just was about to heat up some dinner for myself, and I'd been testing out this recipe that one of my friends shared with me over the weekend, and I made it about 2 or 3 times, and I thought, you know what, I want to video this because it's really good. It's perfect for a weeknight, and it only takes about 5 minutes. So it's called a variable sauce, and the reason that it has that name is because the ingredients that you will use in it will really just depend on what you have on hand. So you need basically some aromatics, a garlic or ramp or scallion or something in that family, onion. You need butter or fat. You need some broth of your choice, and then you need an acid. I'm going to be using white wine vinegar, but you can use lemon juice, you could use red wine. You can basically just select from what you have on hand. So there are 3 broad categories of things that you need to have, and I'll post the recipe with some of the suggested items, and then you can go from there. The last thing that you'll need is a little bit of sugar. I'm going to use brown sugar, but if you have white sugar, it's fine too. So I'm doing this with chicken. I had a little sad, funky looking chicken breast, looked like it was on his last leg. It's from 2 days ago, and it's here. I have cut this up, and then once I've made the sauce, I'm going to just add that to the sauce. So I made some brown butter a few days ago, so that's what I'm using for my fat. And as soon as this melts, I'm going to add in the garlic. Now, as I said, for the garlic category, you can use anything in the alum family. So it could be a large clove of garlic, a half of an onion, a ramp, a scallion, a shallot, anything that has that kind of flavor profile. And what you're going to do is just start to, as soon as your oil or butter melts, mine isn't quite there yet, so we have a little bit of time, but you're just going to add this and start to sweat it out. You're not trying to brown this, you just want to cook it a little bit, and then we're going to add the sugar as a second step. So we're almost all done here. You guys will see, you will thank me for this recipe, but really you'll be thanking my good friend and colleague, Isabel Scott, who is an amazing everything. She's a great cook, she's a great artist, she's just really creative and fun, and she's also a fantastic diplomat. I've learned a lot from her professionally, and she's just always my go-to person on anything that involves creativity. So she sent this recipe to me at the very beginning of the quarantine, way back in April or so, because we were doing this quarantine recipe swap that was conceptualized by one of my cousins. And so instantly I thought, who would be good for this? Who would actually know the stuff and then send the stuff? And it was Isabel. So I had been sitting on this recipe, I never made it, and I was going through some old emails, and I came across her email where she'd sent the recipe. I'm like, I'm gonna make this weekend. And I did, and it was so good, and I couldn't pinpoint like why it worked, but it just does. So I can smell that my butter is now ready. I'm gonna add the garlic. And it's barely even giving me a sizzle here, so I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. Okay, get the rest of those little pieces out. Every little bit matters. And I'm just going to let that sweat for a little bit, maybe about a minute. And as I mentioned, we're going to put the sugar in once this begins to sweat some. The following step will be to add your acid. In this case, I'm using white cooking wine. In the past 2 times that I've used white vinegar, like a kind of a sweet vinegar, and then I also used red wine one time, and they all turned out well. So we can hear that garlic is starting to saute a little bit. I can smell it better yet. So I'm gonna let that cook for about another 10 or 15 more seconds. The combination of that brown butter and garlic is just divine. I'm gonna kind of scoop this toward the middle so that it has a resting place that it can provide to the sugar I'm gonna add in. Just gonna dump the sugar in there. Okay, and kind of swirl that around. Now for my aromatics, I'm using some preserved lemon and some rosemary, but you could use literally whatever you wanted. So if you have thyme, or marjoram or any other herb that you like, you could add that in. I tried it the other day with capers and that worked well too. So this is like a no pressure kind of deal. So that is cooked up a little bit. Now I'm going to add the acid. And the thing I like most about this is kind of like one of those old school grandmama recipes. You know, you just add a pinch and a swig. So we're gonna add like a large swig of the cooking wine and give that a chance to cook down just a little bit. Now the longest part of this cooking process will be when you want the sauce to thicken. So at the end, we're gonna reduce the heat a little bit and let that sauce thicken up. If you are pressed for time and you just want to eat, you can add either some cornstarch or some flour that you have dissolved in liquid. You don't want to put it in there without dissolving it first because you'll have clumps and they're very, very difficult to get rid of. But that will make it thick, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So this has reduced some. I'm going to give this about 30 more seconds. That sugar really helps with the reduction process. Let me show you guys what it looks like. So you can see, oh, let the steam go. You can see it's starting to thicken up some. And it's not a ton of sauce that you're making. This is 1 cup of broth that we're going to add to it. So if you have a lot of meat, you're going to want to multiply the sauce and so that you have an amount that's appropriate for what you're making. Okay, give this just a few more seconds. It's kind of making a little syrup now. And I'm going to add in the broth. Now this is the part where we let it reduce. And also where I'm going to add in the my little herbs and preserved lemons. So I made preserved lemons earlier this summer. Here, let me show you this actually. This is like super easy. So you can take some lemons, wash them, quarter them, put them in a clean vessel with, I have a bay leaf and some peppercorns, and then cover them all over. You're gonna layer the lemons, so you'll put in 1 layer, put in some kosher salt, put in another layer, put in some kosher salt. And then you just let them sit. You let them sit out on the counter for about a week. And then after that, you place them in the refrigerator and they preserve themselves. So this is very popular in North African and Middle Eastern cuisine. When you use them, you're going to want to take out the pulp because it'll be really salty from having sat in that salt all that time. But the rind is delicious. The salt kind of mellows out the acidic nature and the sometimes bitter taste of the rind. And so all you have left is like this bright lemony flavor. So I made a couple of jars of these preserved lemons over the summer, and I've been using them this whole time. Very easy, very inexpensive, and they keep forever. So I'm going to add in my preserved lemons and my rosemary here. Now, if I were getting impatient, this is the point at which I would just throw in that diluted or mixed in cornstarch or flour, but I'm not that pressed. I'm just gonna add in my chicken and let that heat up in the sauce so it can really permeate the meat and give it that flavor throughout. And in about 4 or 5 minutes, we're gonna be ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna cut you off here, let this finish reducing, and then I'll be right back to show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, the sauce is done. Smells like we're in Paris at the Four Seasons. You can see that little sad chicken breast is sad no longer. I'm going to probably saute some vegetables right quick, and that is dinner. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again very, very soon. Take care and have a wonderful Tuesday. Take care.